Good afternoon, listener. Welcome to Global Rights series on the podcast series on the Civic Space. I am Damilola, the program officer, Civic Space Strengthening and Legislative Advocacy for Global Rights. I'm joined here in the studio by a wonderful guest. I will allow her introduce herself so that I don't butcher or make a mess of her name.
Okay, my name is Georgina Ndukwe Ezeanyika. I'm a broadcast journalist practicing one at that.
Okay, that's a media house.
We are Rise News. I work with the Rise News.
Okay, that's fantastic. Georgina, I think you are an excellent guest for what we are about to talk about, which is the civic space. You know that the press and the media play a very, very critical role, according to our constitution and in democracy generally. So I want to, since we are the SHEGE report, which is, sorry if I have this, SHEGE report, which is what we are trying to spotlight, delves into the Buhari administration's impact on the civic space. Can you, from your own personal experience and your own, what you actually went through, tell us how it was over the past 8 years?
Okay, well, I may not have directly had an experience with being probably jailed or arrested in the course of my duty, but I've had some colleagues, experience such. I remember during the NSAS issue, during the protests, the one in Lagos happened. The one in Abuja also had some journalists affected. Some of my colleagues, or one of my colleagues with his cameraman who went to cover the protest, was beaten up, his camera seized, and I think destroyed. I think so, if I may recall. And so they experienced what we call an injustice because they were just doing their job. They were there to cover the protest. They were in no way, linked or actively participating in what the protesters were doing. They were just there to cover the reaction from protesters and, of course, get that of the security personnel that were there. But unfortunately, they suffered the brunt. I think he was beating his head. He had to get some stitches, and then the cameraman as well. And of course, his equipment was seized. So well, these are things that when it happens, you begin to wonder if these security agencies do not understand the role of the media when it comes to reportage or coverage. We are not part of the story. We are just here to report the story. We should be protected. We are not victims. We should not be victimized in the course of doing our work. Sometimes you go out to cover and there's a big personality there with his security aides and they are shoving you aside. They are pushing you. At one point, I had to even raise my voice. I said, do not push. You don't have to push. You can just say, step aside and we will. Don't be, these are the things that we face. And I think it's high time that they begin to understand that we are doing our job. We are here to tell the story. Without us being there, whatever you're doing doesn't go out. Nobody knows, nobody hears except those that, are within that vicinity at that point in time. So we are very crucial elements. We are the fourth estate of the realm. Yeah. So after you have the government, you have the National Assembly, the judiciary, probably the police, then you have us. And so we should be accorded that respect that we deserve.
I quite agree with you, and I also have to harp on this point. Yeah, peaceful protest itself is permitted in the Constitution. It's you have the right to freedom of assembly. You have the right to associate. These are critical elements that are present in Nigeria's Constitution. Also present in Nigeria's Constitution is the role of the press in holding government accountable. You mentioned something there that I have to harp on. They don't understand. They don't seem to understand the role of the press. So how do we engage? What do we need to do to get these governmental actors to understand, that this is what the press is supposed to be doing based on the Constitution?
I think it's more engagement, it's more advocacy, as we've always done whenever there are pressing issues. If we can get them in the room, the key actors, for instance, security heads, members of the judiciary, the legislature, I don't know, those that are the key actors that would
Key stakeholders.
Key stakeholders that would understand, and then we can break it down to them to make them understand that look, we have to be given the free hand to report what is happening and not be intimidated in the course of doing our duty. I think there is need for such, advocacy. There's need for such meetings. There's need for such, public awareness, so that they truly, truly know that look, we are not their enemy, because it seems like we are. It seems that we are. Whenever we open, we dish out figures. We give out the story. We tell the story the way it is. You hear people saying, no, you're supposed to soften it. You're not supposed to give out the figures of how many people died. You're not supposed to talk about how probably the level of insecurity in country, how many people are being attacked. But this is what is happening, and we're duty bound to report it as it is. It's not. We are not trying to. There's this word they call politicize the issues, or put fire to the already existing, pour kerosene to the already existing fire, to make it worse. But no, we are trying to let people know that look, this is happening. It's either you protect yourself, and we are also calling the government to also do what they need to do according to the Constitution. The Constitution states that as a government, you have to protect the lives and property of your citizens, and so wake up to your responsibility and do it.
I have to go segue from there, from your point now, to the press conference we held on global rights and other CSOs, where we were talking about the serious insecurity issues plaguing the country at the moment and the response of the government. And what we've heard so far from the government and its spokesperson seems to be that we are sensationalizing the issue. CSOs are sensationalizing the issue. The media, by reporting on these facts, is also sensationalizing the issue. So I want to understand how do you go about doing your duty, telling the people the facts, and not sensationalizing the issue?
It's a little tricky, because whatever you say or do, as long as the people in government are not seen in good light, they would always view it as being sensational. You're trying to sell, or you're trying to gather more viewers or followers on your social media handle. But what I see is you reporting the facts that exists, so the government would understand. Probably they don't know, so they know that look, it's getting worse and something urgently needs to be done. That is the way I see it. But there is always this tendency for government to see it as an attack on them, saying that, oh, the government, the present administration is not doing enough, But take that away from that and look at the critical issue, and ask. I'm talking to the government now, and ask yourself, are we really doing enough to protect Nigerians? It's not about sensitizing. I think they're trying to delve away from what the main issue is. What are you doing to protect Nigerians? We've had this issue. This is not the first time. It started 3 administrations ago. It started building up gradually. Probably they felt, oh, it's only in the northeast that we have terrorism, insurgents attacking. It's only in north central, but now it's coming down home, even to the seat of power. The people can, abductors or kidnappers can freely just enter and take people out, and no security is able to stop them. It's something very serious that I think the government needs to look at. They should forget about sensationalism. It's not about sensationalism. It's about letting them know that they need to act fast.
Okay, and often mentioned defense of the Buhari administration, which we saw in this SHEGE report, was they kept on referring to national security. For national security purposes, this has to happen. For national security purposes, we have to clamp down on protesters. For national security reasons, we have to arrest journalists. For national security reasons, national security was the overbearing excuse that was often provided by the Buhari administration, and as you properly articulated, has been provided by governments, I think, all over the world and even in Nigeria. So I I always wonder how, as someone a member of the media, somebody in the press, how do you do your duty, um, while balancing that aspect of course you are in Nigeria, you don't want anything bad to happen to Nigerians. You don't want, how do you balance that your duty as a press person, as a member of the media, alongside also minding that national security interest. You are not a government person, I know, but you, as a Nigerian, you always have national security at the back of your mind too, because you want to be protected and you want your family and those who live here to be protected as well. How do you balance that? What do you consider when doing that?
Okay, so consideration in terms of probably not hitting up the polity now, not create trying to create chaos
Yeah,
with your
true.
story. It's quite tricky, I must tell you, because most times when we are or during the editorial meeting, we are trying to decide, okay, is this strong enough for us to play off, or should we just let it die a natural death? It's quite tricky, and it takes, putting heads together in a meeting with the bosses and every other person to decide what story to go and what story not to tell, put much emphasis on. But the thing is, what we put as priority is how does this affect the ordinary Nigerian? How would it help them? Or how would it, you know, how does it tell their story? That basically, that's what, guides us in when we decide what story to use or not. It might be quite tricky to be able to balance it because on this hand, you're having the fact that we have over 200 people who have died, who have been killed. And then on the other hand, you're saying, okay, we don't want to panic. We don't want people to panic.
Panic, yeah.
It's not an easy
yeah,
decision
it's not
to
easy.
make. It's really
not
not.
easy to strike
So
the
it
balance.
always
Yeah.
takes not just one person deciding. It takes the entire newsroom to decide, what story, how do we go about the story, and who we need to bring in during the course of the bulletin to actually explain, or give more flesh to the story. Usually, that's what we do. We bring in experts who now talk, maybe security experts, and who can now say, okay, this is what we need to be doing. The government needs to do this. There was this issue about tracing calls. Most of these people that demand for ransom, they make use of the phone.
Yeah.
We should have that technology to be able to trace where the calls are coming from,
yeah.
and then know how to, go on a rescue mission. It's as simple as ABC actually, but why are we not doing it is a question that still is begging for answers.
Okay, throughout the report and generally the Constitution states citizens have the right to express themselves. There's of course citizens have the right to associate. Citizens have the right to peacefully assemble. These are key civic space rights. I always wonder, do you think, as you mentioned, the fourth estate of the realm, do you think the media is playing enough of a role or is doing its job as well as it could in telling people about these rights, in saying you have the right to express yourself? Are they expressing opinions that are sometimes contrarian? It's possible you open the pages of the newspaper and you open the pages of the journal, or you go online and you hear all sorts of opinions. I'm thinking to myself, is the media, as the fourth estate of the realm, promoting, telling people that, oh, you have the right to express yourself as long as you, of course, within sensible bounds? What more do you think? Do you think you guys are doing it enough? And if you are not doing it enough, what more do you think you can do?
Well, I think we are doing the best that we can. I want to situate this using the election that happened, the recent elections about in the present administration. I know we kept on saying you have a right to vote, you have a right to even ensure that your vote is counted. That was in the media, it was out there, and people understood that. You could see an increased awareness, increased, people understanding that, look, it has to be imputed in
The device,
IRF.
yeah, yeah.
And we even heard stories of people that insisted that the officials would not go until the figures are imputed.
Repeated,
So people became aware of what their rights were as towards the election. So yeah, but I still think we still need to continue because say advocacy never ends. We still need to continue doing more to enlighten Nigerians that look, you have the right to associate, you have a right to express your views. And for instance, let me even remind you of the social media bill, if you can remember, that was presented on the floor of the
National
National
Assembly,
Assembly,
yeah.
and the feedback, the kickback that
That
occurred,
ensued,
the
yeah.
public outcry that ensued. If Nigerians were not aware of their rights, they wouldn't have even stood up. They wouldn't have
Okay.
said anything. It would have just passed, and then everybody would. But there was awareness created by the CSOs through the media, and then people came and protested and said, "No, this is not right. It shouldn't hold. It shouldn't, go on." And we saw that die a natural death. So I think people are aware. The media is doing its best to create that awareness on the rights of people, and we will still continue to do because I don't think advocacy ends easily. It continues,
Yeah,
so it's a
yes,
continuous
it's a
process.
continuous
Yes.
process. Yeah, and I don't think because a key aspect of what we are trying to do, global rights, and at least through several projects we're working on, and the civic space part of it is we're trying to arm citizens with information. We want citizens to know, okay, this is, you have the right to do this. This is, you don't, once you're right, your views are not views that that infringe on another person's
Obviously,
rights.
right. Yes.
Because we always say there's very thin line between hate speech and
Yes.
freedom of expression. Yeah,
Exactly.
you have the right to freely express yourself, but it doesn't mean you have the right to
Yes.
step on another person's
So,
insult the person's religion
exactly.
or tribe and
Exactly.
all that. Yeah, so that's
And that's the problem that the internet also, creates. You have young people who are so expressive and they don't know that they should also mind the feelings of other people because you have access to internet, you have a smartphone, you can just type whatever you want. It's wrong.
yeah.
You have to express yourself, but do not, like you said, do not think it's the liberty,
It's a liberty to
insult people and say,
people and all that.
this man
Yeah.
is in fact, I've seen, okay, so we stream our programs live, and then people, there's the comment section where people interact. It's becoming a growing community there now. And then you see people writing some very derogatory comments, and you wonder, why? It's uncalled for, it's very unnecessary. So, in as much as we try to make people understand you have that liberty to express yourself, but it should not be taken advantage of.
Yes, yes, I completely agree with that. We, as you said, we have to strike the right balance between
Yes.
freedom of expression and hate speech. Is one of the things we're trying to educate citizens about. So I also want to harp on the perspective that Buhari administration, um, we have seen reports, the Civicus, an organization that grades civic space in several countries, graded Nigeria's civic space as repressed, which is the second lowest level next to closed. Essentially, closed means the door is shut. So we are teetering on the brink in that respect. And I want you to set the scene. I want you to help us, advise the government that we have now. What do you think, particularly from your angle, from your unique angle as a member of the media, what steps do they take so that when we're writing their own reports in next 4 years or whenever, how long it takes, what that we won't be using words like SHEGE. We'll be using words like, okay, if there's most improved or something like that. There's what steps do they need to take to change the direction of the civic space with regards to.
I think the present administration should be open to more collaborations with the civil civic space. Open your doors to hear them out. Get to know what the issues are that they are complaining about, that they are pressing on about. I mean, when there is this closer collaboration, closer, sort of understanding between the government and civil society
Society.
organization, then it will be smoother, and then things can be quickly addressed. There'll be more effort to address some of these issues that you raise from time to time. That is it. Communication. Open your doors. Get to collaborate more with the civic space. Understand what their issues are, what they are pushing for, and then walk around with them. Because most times when you come out with your advocacy, you also bring recommendations.
Yeah.
To government. These are the ways you can go about doing these things. It's as simple as that. Consider those recommendations and then have a round table discussion with them, relevant stakeholders, and say, okay, this is what you've said. These are the areas we can come in. These are the areas we cannot come in. How do we, meet at at the middle? So it's very, very crucial. If you are a government that doesn't have a listening ear, then things will definitely go wrong, and we'll keep on having this report saying the government was not friendly to the civic space. The civic space is shrinking, depression, intimidation, and depressed state. So, if I were to advise the present administration, I would say open your doors to civil society organizations, hear them out, have a roundtable discussion, and then see the areas you can come in to address the issues that they're presenting to you, because it's very important. They're not just speaking for themselves, they are speaking for the people of Nigeria. And you were elected by the people of Nigeria, so to speak, for those that voted you in. And so you have a right, you need to get to hear them out and know how you can address the issues that affect the people that you govern.
Thank you so much for saying that. As you said, if we're not enemies. We don't. I think every Nigerian or anybody resident in Nigeria wants government to succeed, because if it succeeds, your life is better.
Yes.
Your health. When you go to the hospital, you are attended. Infrastructure, everything. Roads are better. You drive better. Yeah, exactly. So, if from that perspective we are not enemies, we are just where our role is to hold you accountable to the people that you said that elect you. Okay, thank you so much, Georgina, for engaging with me on a plethora of these civic space issues. You've heard from member of the press. You've heard her candid opinions as to why there's no more traction with regards to trying to get people to vote. You've heard about how difficult it was to perform their roles as members of the press in the previous administration and all that. So we want to encourage you to pick up the SHEGE report. This report tries to talk about what happened in the past, laying a foundation for what is happening now, and trying to prevent what can happen in the future with regards to the civic space. I also want to talk about our video, We Know Agree 101, which was an infomercial informing citizens of the various rights they have and the critical role they have to play in protecting the civic space. You are the one responsible for the civic space you have as a citizen. You're armed with several rights armed by the Constitution. Use those rights effectively and fight within and battle within the ambit of the law to protect the civic space. Thank you very much. Till next time, Damilola and Georgina.
Bye.